After an economic collapse, Gabriel buys an abandoned estate for $750. In the attic, he discovers a hidden chest containing documents, cash, and hints of ancient secrets. Shocking family ties to a mysterious brotherhood shrouded in the secrets of the past are revealed. His journey transforms into a quest for lost heritage and the truth about the past. The estate's secrets intertwine with personal drama, prompting him to rethink his destiny. Gabriel resolves to continue his perilous investigation, balancing between science and the occult. With each step, the past draws nearer, and dangerous secrets begin to impact the modern world. His adventure promises to turn destinies upside down, linking a forgotten legacy with an unpredictable future. Stay with us if you want to find out how the story ends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Many more exciting stories lie ahead. Gabriel Monroe found himself standing on the threshold of a destiny he had never imagined, a destiny forged in the crucible of ruin and desperate hope. In the wake of a severe economic collapse that had decimated once promising careers and upended lives in the sprawling metropolis of Rosedale, Gabriel had lost nearly every shred of stability. Once a respected financial consultant whose acumen had carried him through years of prosperity, he now teetered on the edge between despair and the possibility of renewal. With his savings dwindled to a paltry sum that barely whispered of his former affluence, he resolved to invest what little he had left in an audacious gamble, an abandoned estate that local legends claimed was steeped in mystery and long-forgotten secrets. The property, a sprawling rural manor that overlooked a windswept valley, had come to his attention through a hastily organized auction. The listing was astonishingly modest, a mere price of $750, an amount that seemed almost surreal for a property marred by decades of neglect. Despite warnings of the manor's dilapidated state and potential legal entanglements circulating among local officials, Gabriel's resolve remained unshaken. A spark of defiance kindled within him. If fortune had deserted him amidst the glittering corridors of high finance, perhaps he could seize control by resurrecting a relic of the past. On the day of the auction, under a brooding sky that lent an air of portent to the proceedings, Gabriel attended with quiet determination. Among a crowd of opportunists and skeptics, he emerged victorious, acquiring the weathered estate with the last vestiges of his dwindling resources. There was a symbolic weight in that purchase, a decisive step away from the bleak devastation of modern failure and into a realm where forgotten histories might yet be unearthed. In that moment, Gabriel's desperate act of faith promised that even in the ruins of an abandoned era, hidden fortunes might await rediscovery. After the auction, Gabriel journeyed to the estate with a blend of trepidation and cautious optimism. The manor, set at the edge of an expansive forest and surrounded by rolling fields, was as enigmatic as it was forlorn. Its once imposing facade now bore the scars of time, a patchwork of crumbling stone and weathered timber hinting at a grandeur long past. Inside, though layers of dust and neglect had claimed most of its former luster, the building still resonated with the echoes of lives that had once thrived within its walls. As he stepped through the heavy, splintered door, Gabriel sensed an almost tangible presence of unspoken secrets lingering in every shadow. The interior of the manor was a study in contrasts. In some rooms, rays of light filtered through gaps in the boarded-up windows, momentarily illuminating faded murals and time-worn furniture with a ghostly glow. In other chambers, deep shadows pooled as though guarding mysteries too profound to unveil. Gabriel's deliberate exploration led him deeper into the heart of the estate until he discovered a narrow, creaking staircase ascending to the attic. There, amid a labyrinth of relics and the detritus of bygone eras, his heart quickened with anticipation and an undercurrent of apprehension. Ascending into the attic, Gabriel encountered an atmosphere heavy with history. The stale air, redolent of aged paper and dust that had settled for decades, seemed to whisper of forgotten lives. The space was cluttered with artifacts, a weathered desk scarred by time's relentless march, a collection of porcelain figurines whose once vivid hues had long faded, and stacks of sepia-toned photographs silently chronicling the estate's storied past. Yet, in the farthest corner of the attic, his eyes were drawn to an incongruous object, a battered wooden chest that seemed to have resisted the decay that had claimed the rest of the manor. The chest, fastened with a corroded latch and remarkably preserved against the pervasive ruin, beckoned to him with a promise of mystery. With measured caution, Gabriel opened the lid to reveal a carefully bundled collection of old documents tied together with faded ribbons, accompanied by a modest cache of cash that glimmered dully amid the dust. Each document bore the weight of a bygone era, their fragile edges softened by time yet imbued with an aura of significance. It was as if the chest had been sealed not merely to store forgotten valuables, but to protect a secret legacy that spanned generations. As Gabriel unfolded the brittle pages, he discerned fragments of a narrative hinting at clandestine dealings and long-hidden fortunes. The documents, penned in an archaic hand that evoked a lost time, detailed mysterious transactions, cryptic agreements, and references to an enigmatic organization that had once wielded considerable influence in the region. Intermingled with these records were personal accounts of ambition, betrayal, and fate's relentless pull, a pull that now seemed to draw Gabriel inexorably into the manor's unfolding saga. Though the cache lay modestly by modern standards, it exuded an almost palpable potential, as if it were merely the tangible tip of an iceberg of untold riches and secrets waiting to be revealed. As dusk faded into night, the ancient manor became a canvas upon which the past and future converged. Each creaking floorboard and every dust-laden corner seemed to murmur an invitation to look deeper, to question whether his desperate gamble had been mere folly or the prelude to an astonishing discovery. In that hushed silence, Gabriel recognized that the estate was not simply a monument to decay, but a repository of narratives, betrayals, and perhaps even a hidden fortune that defied simple monetary appraisal. Within the quiet solitude of the manor, Gabriel reached a crossroads. The weight of his recent failures in the high-stakes world of finance forced him to confront a stark truth: he could either succumb to the crushing despair of his losses or embrace the mystery that now beckoned him. Every relic, every fragile document, and every whispered secret in the shadows of the manor challenged him to uncover whether fate had deliberately led him to this forsaken place. There, amidst the interplay of light and dark, the vestiges of forgotten lives and secrets, lay the promise that his misfortune could transform into a conduit for rediscovering a lost heritage. As midnight drew near, Gabriel remained in the attic, surrounded by the silent testimony of a bygone era. The document spoke in hushed tones, not with the clarity of spoken words but through the subtle language of history and possibility. In that moment, amid the pervasive dust and the intangible echoes of the past, he resolved to dedicate himself to unraveling the mysteries that had so unexpectedly entered his life. The abandoned manor, once emblematic of ruin and despair, now shimmered with the promise of renewed purpose, a promise Gabriel was determined to honor, regardless of the perils and uncertainties that lay ahead. Thus began his journey, not merely as an attempt to salvage what remained of his shattered fortune, but as an odyssey through the labyrinthine corridors of time, memory, and identity. Each step taken within the manor was a step toward reclaiming a lost legacy, while every faded document hinted at a vast tapestry of secrets woven through the generations. In the quiet, dimly lit recesses of that ancient attic, where history and destiny converged, Gabriel Monroe set forth on an expedition that would challenge everything he had ever known about his past, his lineage, and the very nature of fate itself. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Gabriel Monroe emerged from the dim recesses of the attic with a heavy mind and a burning curiosity. The night's revelations, fragments of secret correspondence, cryptic financial records, and hints of an enigmatic organization, had ignited within him a determination to pursue the labyrinthine trail of mysteries buried within the estate. Every shadow, every weathered document, and every faded photograph that adorned the manor's interior now resonated with a meaning that transcended mere neglect. Instead, they became pieces of a vast, intergenerational puzzle that beckoned him to unravel long-forgotten secrets. In the pale early light, the manor took on an otherworldly quality. The once gloomy corridors now shimmered with the soft glow of dawn, casting long, stretching beams across creaking wooden floors and along walls adorned with peeling wallpaper. Gabriel moved deliberately through the silence of the estate, his footsteps a measured counterpoint to the rhythm of his thoughts. With each cautious step, he recalled the whispered hints of clandestine deals and hidden legacies that had been preserved within the fragile pages of the old documents. The relics around him, an antique mirror with a tarnished frame, a solitary vase holding a single withered rose, a faded portrait of a stern-faced matriarch whose eyes seemed to hold unspoken sorrow, all appeared to be silent witnesses to a bygone era of ambition, sacrifice, and covert operations. Gabriel's mind drifted back to the auction where he had risked his remaining savings, a mere $750, on the hope of breathing new life into a decaying relic. That decision, once seen as an act of desperation, now assumed a new dimension of possibility. The manor was no longer simply a dilapidated building but a repository of memories and secrets that transcended time. In the aftermath of a catastrophic economic collapse that had stripped him of his former life, the purchase of this estate was a deliberate gamble, a bet that from the ashes of ruin, something magnificent might yet be reborn. The documents from the attic suggested that the estate had once been the epicenter of a powerful network, its influence stretching beyond the narrow confines of the local community into realms of shadowy finance and clandestine research. There was an almost palpable air of destiny that now clung to every worn step Gabriel took. Moving from room to room, Gabriel began an exhaustive exploration of the manor's interior. The grand foyer, though abandoned and scarred by the ravages of time, retained vestiges of its former opulence, a sweeping staircase that curved gracefully upward, intricate molding along the walls, and a massive chandelier whose crystals, though dusty, still hinted at their once splendid brilliance. In the library, rows of ancient books and ledgers lined the walls like silent sentinels of forgotten wisdom. Here, the scent of aged paper and leather-bound volumes mingled with the faint aroma of must and decay. Gabriel's eyes caught sight of a peculiar leather-bound journal tucked away on a shelf behind a heavy drape. The journal, embossed with a faded family crest he could not immediately identify, beckoned him to uncover its hidden narrative. As he leafed through the brittle pages, fragments of cryptic entries and hurried notes revealed themselves, hinting at a secret collaboration between prominent figures of the past. The writing spoke of an elusive compound, a mysterious formulation that had been referred to in hushed tones as the seventh measure. This compound, it seemed, was not merely a footnote in a ledger but the cornerstone of an ambitious project that straddled the boundaries of scientific research and forbidden commerce. The diary's entries were interwoven with references to clandestine meetings, coded language that described financial maneuvers, and allusions to an underground society whose very existence had been shrouded in mystery. Though the journal offered no definitive answers, it was enough to set Gabriel's mind aflame with possibilities. Outside, the estate's grounds stretched into a wild expanse where nature had begun to reclaim what man had once tried to tame. Overgrown hedges and untended gardens framed a long-forgotten courtyard, its center dominated by a crumbling fountain that had long since lost its water. In one corner of the courtyard, half hidden by a thick tangle of ivy, Gabriel noticed an unusual arrangement of stones that appeared deliberately placed, a potential marker or perhaps a remnant of an ancient boundary line. The pattern evoked memories of the geometric designs found in old monasteries or secret societies, further fueling his speculation about the estate's true significance. As the morning advanced, Gabriel's exploration led him into the manor's lower levels. The basement, dark and foreboding, housed relics of a more industrial past. In the dim light of his flickering lantern, he discovered long-forgotten tools, rusted machinery, and cryptic symbols etched into the stone walls. The oppressive silence of the basement was occasionally broken by the distant sound of dripping water, a constant reminder of time's relentless passage. In one secluded corner, beneath layers of dust and debris, lay a heavy iron door partially concealed by old tarpaulins. The door, unmarked except for a series of indecipherable carvings, stirred in Gabriel an intuition that it might guard an even deeper secret, perhaps an underground archive or a forgotten chamber that once housed the epicenters of the estate's hidden operations. Deep within the labyrinthine corridors of the manor, as Gabriel meticulously documented his findings in a worn leather notebook, a growing sense of foreboding mingled with his excitement. The documents, the journal, and the physical clues scattered throughout the property were beginning to converge into a single, coherent narrative, a narrative that spoke of a legacy burdened with both brilliance and tragedy. It was as if every object in the manor, from the cracked mirror in the foyer to the intricately carved banister of the staircase, was imbued with the essence of those who had come before him, urging him to continue the quest for truth. Gabriel's thoughts often returned to the significance of the modest sum he had risked, a mere $750, which now seemed not only a monetary investment but a symbolic leap of faith. That meager amount, once viewed through the lens of financial ruin, had become the catalyst for a journey that promised to reveal not only the secrets of an abandoned estate but also the hidden chapters of his own ancestry. The estate, with its silent corridors and enigmatic relics, was a bridge between his shattered past and a future teeming with undiscovered potential. Its very decay had been transformed into a canvas upon which the complex interplay of memory, ambition, and destiny was being slowly, inexorably rewritten. In the hours that followed, Gabriel's investigative journey became a blend of meticulous archival research and intuitive exploration. Every document he uncovered, every obscure symbol he encountered, was methodically cross-referenced with the scattered fragments of historical records he had managed to piece together over previous weeks. The local archive, a modest building in the nearby town of Milford, had provided him with preliminary hints that the estate had once belonged to a prominent family whose fortunes had soared and plummeted in tandem with the vicissitudes of economic cycles and clandestine enterprises. Records suggested that the family had been involved in a series of audacious ventures that spanned from high-stakes industrial investments to secretive experiments in early medical research. Although the details were shrouded in mystery, there was no doubt that the estate had played a central role in a saga of ambition, innovation, and eventual downfall. As the day wore on, Gabriel found himself wrestling with conflicting emotions. On one hand, there was the undeniable thrill of discovery, a sense of reclaiming a part of his lost dignity through the unraveling of historical enigmas. On the other hand, there was a growing awareness of the dangerous currents that lay beneath the surface of his investigations. The more he delved into the estate's past, the more he encountered hints of unsavory dealings, covert alliances, and experiments that bordered on the unethical. The diary's references to the seventh measure and the cryptic mentions of an underground society hinted at the possibility that the estate had once been a nexus for controversial scientific endeavors, projects that had perhaps pushed the boundaries of morality and legality. Yet, even as caution mingled with his zeal, Gabriel pressed on. The estate had already transformed from a symbol of his personal financial ruin into a beacon of hope, a testament to the possibility of rebirth through the pursuit of truth. Every step he took within its ancient walls, every faded inscription and crumbling artifact, reinforced his resolve to uncover the secrets that had been carefully interred beneath layers of time and neglect. The estate was more than a structure, it was a living archive of history, a vessel containing the collective memories of those who had once dared to dream, to push the limits of possibility. And now, in the quiet hours of that fateful day, Gabriel felt an inescapable pull to honor those memories by carrying their legacy forward into an uncertain future. In the midst of this introspection, a subtle shift in the atmosphere began to occur. The interplay of light and shadow in the corridors took on an almost deliberate quality, as though the estate itself was guiding him toward revelations yet to be discovered. The mysterious iron door in the basement, the peculiar arrangement of stones in the courtyard, and the haunting symbols embedded in the architecture all seemed to coalesce into a silent summons, a call to venture deeper into the unknown realms of the estate's history. The path forward was fraught with uncertainty, and yet it was precisely that uncertainty which infused his quest with an electrifying sense of purpose. Gabriel's journey through the manor became an odyssey of not only external exploration but internal reckoning as well. The fragments of the diary, the faded family crest on the leather-bound journal, and the inscrutable carvings on the iron door all converged to suggest that his own bloodline was entwined with the fate of the estate. The realization that his ancestry might be inextricably linked with the secretive operations and experimental ventures of a bygone era filled him with both trepidation and an inexplicable sense of belonging. Each discovery, each piece of evidence, further solidified the notion that his arrival at the estate was not a random twist of fate but a deliberate act orchestrated by forces beyond his immediate understanding. As the day drew to a close and shadows lengthened across the manor's time-worn surfaces, Gabriel found himself standing once more at the threshold of an ancient doorway in the basement. The iron door, with its indecipherable symbols and foreboding presence, now loomed as the next challenge in his quest. Though uncertainty and caution warred within him, the promise of hidden truths, of revelations that could redefine not only the estate's history but also his own identity, compelled him forward. The call to unlock yet another layer of the estate's mysteries was irresistible, a siren song echoing through the corridors of time. In that moment, Gabriel recognized that the estate was not merely a decaying relic of a lost era but a dynamic tapestry woven from threads of ambition, ingenuity, betrayal, and redemption. The modest investment of $750, which had once symbolized the nadir of his financial misfortune, had transformed into a gateway to a realm where the past and future converged in unexpected ways. With resolute determination, he resolved to face the challenges that lay beyond the iron door, prepared to confront whatever hidden legacies or dangerous secrets might be lurking within the darkened chamber beyond. Thus, in the quiet gloom of the basement, with the weight of history pressing in upon him and the murmur of secrets urging him onward, Gabriel Monroe took his first tentative steps toward unlocking the mysteries that the estate had guarded for generations. The journey was only beginning, a journey that promised to reveal not only the hidden truths of a long-forgotten family legacy but also to chart a new course for his own destiny. Transcending the bounds of despair and ushering in a future replete with possibility and purpose. Gabriel hesitated only a moment before placing his trembling hand on the cold, iron door. Its surface, etched with archaic symbols and weathered carvings, seemed to pulse with a silent, almost sentient energy. The inscriptions, mysterious and enigmatic, resonated with the cryptic fragments of the diary and the faded family crest he had uncovered earlier. In that charged instant, he realized that the door was not merely a barrier to an unknown room, but a threshold to an entirely different realm, one that bridged the gap between his shattered past and a destiny steeped in ancient secrets. With measured determination, Gabriel examined the carvings more intently. The patterns, which at first glance appeared to be random etchings, began to reveal themselves as a complex language, a code possibly left by the estate's original masters. The symbols recalled images of a long-forgotten society, one that had woven its influence through clandestine operations and scientific experiments of dubious repute. Each mark told a story of ambition and caution, of brilliant minds driven to the brink by their own daring pursuits. He recalled the diary's elusive mention of the seventh measure, and felt that this door might guard not only physical space, but also the legacy of radical ideas that had once challenged the boundaries of conventional wisdom. Determined to unlock the mystery, Gabriel searched the surrounding area for any clues that might serve as a key to deciphering the code. His eyes roamed over the iron door, noting that one section bore a series of depressions that seemed more worn than the rest, a subtle indication of repeated contact over the years. It was as if someone had, time and again, pressed their hand upon this very spot in search of a hidden mechanism. Gabriel's pulse quickened as he traced his fingers over the grooves, feeling the cool metal yield ever so slightly beneath his touch. In that moment, he suspected that the door might conceal a latch or a hidden lever, a relic of craftsmanship designed to safeguard the secrets behind it. With careful precision, he manipulated the worn section, applying gentle pressure while listening for any sign of movement. For several heartbeats, there was only silence, the heavy, expectant quiet of a secret held captive for decades. Then, almost imperceptibly, a soft click reverberated through the dim space. The sound was both triumphant and foreboding, as if the door had finally acknowledged his resolve while warning him of the weight of what lay ahead. Slowly, almost reverently, Gabriel pushed the door open. It yielded with a low groan, revealing a narrow passageway that descended into darkness. A stale, cool draft escaped from the gap, carrying with it the scent of ancient earth and forgotten secrets. The narrow corridor was lined with stone walls, their surfaces marred by centuries of neglect yet adorned with intricate reliefs that hinted at the once grand architecture of a secretive order. Faint traces of faded murals, now nearly lost to time, provided a ghostly narrative of the society that had once thrived within these hidden confines. As he stepped into the passage, Gabriel's senses were inundated with the profound weight of history. The corridor, illuminated only by the weak beam of his lantern, seemed to stretch interminably into the subterranean depths. Every step he took echoed softly against the rough-hewn stones, merging with the distant sound of dripping water that punctuated the silence like a metronome marking the passage of forgotten time. The path was treacherous and uncharted, yet it beckoned him forward with an almost magnetic pull, a promise of revelations that could redefine everything he had believed about his own origins and the legacy of the manor. Navigating carefully along the narrow passage, Gabriel eventually came upon a small chamber, its ceiling arched and low. In this enclosed space, the light of his lantern danced across walls that bore an astonishing array of inscriptions and diagrams. Here, the relics of clandestine experiments and secret meetings were etched into stone in a manner that defied casual interpretation. Diagrams of peculiar apparatuses and enigmatic chemical formulas intertwined with allegorical images of mythic figures, all of which suggested a convergence of science, mysticism, and forbidden ambition. Among these inscriptions, one recurring symbol stood out, a seven-pointed star circumscribed by cryptic glyphs that seemed to pulse with a silent intensity, echoing the diary's persistent allusions to the seventh measure. Gabriel's heart pounded as he carefully documented the symbols with his notebook, determined to decode their significance later. The chamber, though small, was awash with a palpable energy, a residue of fervent activity from an era when knowledge and power were intertwined in dangerous liaisons. It was as if the very air vibrated with the echoes of voices long silenced, each murmur hinting at secrets that had been deliberately obscured from public view. The chamber's arrangement suggested that it might have once served as a laboratory or meeting place for those who dared to venture beyond conventional boundaries, experimenting with the very fabric of life itself. In one corner of the chamber, partially hidden beneath a collapsed wooden panel, Gabriel discovered a collection of delicate leather-bound ledgers and meticulously handwritten notes. These documents, although fragile with age, bore the unmistakable precision of scholarly research. The notes detailed experiments with strange compounds, references to advanced theories on cellular transformation, and records of clandestine transactions that hinted at a network of influential patrons. The more Gabriel read, the more he was drawn into the story of a secretive group whose ambitions had transcended the ordinary, a group that had sought to harness an elusive scientific breakthrough and whose experiments had blurred the lines between medicine and alchemy. As he pored over the documents, Gabriel felt an uncanny sense of familiarity, as if the ideas and endeavors described in the texts resonated with a hidden part of his own memory. The language, though archaic, carried hints of methodologies and philosophies that had been passed down through generations. It was as if his lineage had been subtly intertwined with these radical experiments, a legacy that had been quietly nurtured in the shadows of the estate. The discovery sent a shiver down his spine. The possibility that his family had once been entangled in endeavors so daring and fraught with peril was both exhilarating and deeply unsettling. In the dim glow of his lantern, Gabriel carefully reassembled the pieces of the narrative before him. The estate was not merely an abandoned relic of architectural decay, it was the nexus of a covert enterprise that had once aimed to redefine the boundaries of human potential. The faded record suggested that the experiments, shrouded in secrecy and moral ambiguity, had been driven by a relentless pursuit of a breakthrough that could alter the very essence of life. Yet, as he delved deeper into the documents, he also encountered subtle warnings and admonitions. There were notes written in a hurried, almost desperate hand that cautioned against the unbridled ambition of tampering with forces beyond mortal control. The duality of promise and peril resonated strongly within him, mirroring the precarious balance he now faced between reclaiming his own destiny and unleashing dormant forces that might once again upend the delicate equilibrium of his life. With the chamber's secrets pressing upon his mind, Gabriel paused to consider the implications of his discoveries. The pathway before him was as uncertain as it was enticing, a journey into the heart of an underground legacy that held the power to reshape his understanding of identity and purpose. The iron door he had unlocked was merely the first barrier in a labyrinth of hidden truths and silent conspiracies, a gateway to a past that was as tumultuous as it was transformative. Every artifact, every faded document in this subterranean archive, was a testament to a time when ambition and innovation had collided with danger and moral ambiguity. Resolute and emboldened by his findings, Gabriel gathered the ledgers and notes carefully, securing them in his satchel with the hope of deciphering their cryptic contents at a later time. He allowed himself a brief moment of introspection, standing alone in that cool, ancient chamber, feeling the weight of destiny and the silent chorus of ancestral voices urging him onward. There was a profound understanding now that his fate was inexorably linked to the legacy of the manor, a legacy that had been hidden in the shadows, waiting for the one person brave enough to unlock its mysteries. In that cavernous silence, as the echoes of distant water droplets merged with the rhythm of his own heartbeat, Gabriel prepared to move deeper into the underground labyrinth. The next passage, he sensed, would not only lead him to further revelations about the experiments and the clandestine society that once thrived here, but would also demand that he confront the darker aspects of his own lineage. The interplay of light and shadow in the chamber had kindled within him a new resolve, a commitment to unravel the intricate tapestry of secrets that spanned both the hidden depths of the estate and the corridors of his own history. Thus, with the documents safely stowed and the enigmatic chamber etched into his memory, Gabriel stepped away from the threshold of that subterranean archive, his mind alive with questions and possibilities. The manor, in all its decaying grandeur, had transformed before him into a living chronicle, a chronicle of ambition, mystery, and the enduring quest for knowledge that defied the constraints of time. As he retraced his steps back through the winding passageway, his thoughts turned to the broader implications of what he had discovered. Each step echoed with the promise of further secrets waiting to be revealed, each shadow hinted at untold narratives yet to be deciphered. The journey into the depths of the manor was far from over. Ahead lay more hidden passages, more ancient symbols, and possibly, the final keys to unlocking a legacy that spanned generations. Gabriel's heart, though heavy with the burden of newfound revelations, beat with the fierce determination of one who had glimpsed the potential to transform his life, and perhaps, to reshape the destiny of all those whose lives had been touched by the mysterious hand of fate. In that resolute moment, the abandoned estate no longer seemed like a monument to past despair, but rather the cradle of a future filled with both peril and profound promise. Emerging from the underground labyrinth with a satchel heavy with fragile ledgers and cryptic notes, Gabriel found that the weight of the manor's secrets pressed upon him as palpably as the chill of the subterranean air. The narrow passageways had led him back to the upper levels, where the soft hum of early evening now stirred the estate into a twilight world of shifting shadows and whispered memories. Outside, the overgrown grounds beckoned with the promise of further clues hidden amidst nature's quiet reclamation of what man had once built. As he stepped back into the courtyard, the lingering images of the iron door and its arcane inscriptions haunted his thoughts. The courtyard itself, framed by crumbling stone walls and tangled ivy, appeared almost sentient, each moss-covered brick and each stone marker hinting at a history too profound to be dismissed as mere decay. In one secluded nook, the pattern of carefully arranged stones, which had earlier evoked designs reminiscent of secret societies, now assumed a new significance. Gabriel knelt beside them, tracing the contours of the carvings with reverence, wondering if they might correspond to a map or a code that would guide him deeper into the legacy of the estate. The chill in the air was joined by a stirring in Gabriel's heart, a mix of trepidation and unyielding determination. He recalled the scattered references to the seventh measure and the promise of a compound that could alter the very fabric of life. The diary, the ledgers, and even the enigmatic carvings had all converged to suggest that the estate had once been the epicenter of experiments that blurred the boundaries between science and the mystical. Every document he had uncovered seemed to whisper of hidden laboratories, secret meetings, and daring scientific ventures that were as awe-inspiring as they were dangerous. Compelled by these revelations, Gabriel decided to revisit the estate's library, a grand room that had once housed the accumulated wisdom of generations. The library, though shrouded in dust and disuse, retained an air of gravitas. Towering shelves lined the walls, their contents a mix of yellowed tomes, handwritten ledgers, and obscure manuscripts. Here, amid the silence punctuated only by the occasional creak of the old building settling, he hoped to find further records that might illuminate the path ahead. Gabriel began methodically scanning the shelves, carefully pulling out volumes that seemed to have borne witness to secret correspondences and scientific treatises of a bygone era. One particular leather-bound book caught his attention, a weighty volume with embossed symbols similar to those he had seen carved on the iron door. As he opened its brittle pages, a cascade of names, dates, and cryptic formulas spilled into view. Among these, he discovered an entry that referenced a clandestine symposium held in the estate's private chambers. The manuscript described the symposium as a gathering of brilliant, albeit controversial, minds who had dared to challenge the established scientific order. It spoke of breakthroughs in the field of biochemical synthesis and hinted at a project that aimed to unlock the secrets of cellular regeneration. The narrative, however, was punctuated by warnings. The authors had recorded that tampering with such potent forces came at a great cost, a price measured not in dollars or material wealth, but in the very essence of one's humanity. Deep in thought, Gabriel closed the book and sat for a moment in silent reflection. His own journey had been marked by the loss of a comfortable past, a life of calculated financial success that had crumbled under the weight of unforeseen calamities. Now, here he was, piecing together a mosaic of historical fragments that not only chronicled the rise and fall of a secret society but also hinted at a legacy that might be intrinsically tied to his own bloodline. The realization struck him like a thunderclap. His decision to gamble his remaining savings on this forsaken estate had set him on a path that was as much about personal redemption as it was about unearthing the estate's hidden truths. With the book clutched in his hands, Gabriel resolved to pursue every lead that the library's contents offered. He catalogued the names and theories that recurred throughout the texts, noting connections between the estate's former proprietors and the mysterious experiments that were alluded to time and again. The names were often accompanied by dates that suggested a timeline of secret innovation, one that paralleled major historical events and scientific revolutions. There was an undeniable pattern, a thread of audacity and defiance that ran through the pages, weaving together a narrative of ambition and peril that had been carefully obscured by time. Outside the library, the manor's corridors resonated with an uncanny stillness, as if the building itself was holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. Gabriel's footsteps echoed as he retraced his path toward a neglected wing of the estate where rumors suggested that a private study had once served as the nerve center of the secret experiments. The study, obscured by layers of dust and cobwebs, had a more intimate feel than the grand library. Here, personal mementos and private letters lay scattered alongside detailed scientific diagrams. On a desk by a narrow window that overlooked a wild garden, he discovered a collection of faded photographs, images of stern-faced individuals, each bearing an air of both pride and sorrow, standing in front of machinery in laboratories that had long since fallen silent. One portrait, in particular, depicted a woman whose eyes bore an intensity that hinted at the tremendous sacrifices made in the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. As the hours waned, the interplay of fading daylight and emerging lamplight imbued the study with a dreamlike quality. Gabriel began to sense that every artifact within these walls was a piece of an intricate puzzle, one that spanned decades, if not centuries. The study, with its personal touches and records of experimental endeavors, seemed to invite him to become more than a mere observer. It beckoned him to take on the mantle of an investigator, a custodian of its storied legacy. Each document he carefully folded and stowed, each photograph he meticulously examined, reinforced his conviction that the estate was far more than a dilapidated relic of past glories. It was a living archive, a testament to the resilience of human ambition in the face of overwhelming odds. As night fell and the manor's interior transformed under the soft glow of oil lamps, Gabriel felt both a profound connection to the past and a burgeoning resolve to carry the truth forward. The estate, with its myriad of secrets and the spectral echoes of lost voices, now stood as a crucible for transformation. In the quiet moments of that late evening, as he sat in the solitude of the private study, Gabriel understood that the journey he had embarked upon was one of both discovery and redemption. The pursuit of the seventh measure, and the unraveling of a legacy interwoven with scientific daring and moral ambiguity were tasks that carried immense risks, but they also held the promise of transcending his own personal tragedies. In that transformative night, as shadows danced across time-worn walls and the murmurs of the past seemed to guide his every thought, Gabriel Monroe made a silent vow. He would delve deeper into the mysteries of the estate, no matter how perilous the path might become. The secrets that had been carefully preserved within these hallowed halls were not meant to remain buried in obscurity, they were destined to reshape the understanding of history, science, and perhaps even the nature of human potential itself. And as the manor's ancient silence enveloped him, Gabriel felt a stirring, a profound sense that his journey was only just beginning, and that the true legacy of the estate was waiting to be awakened. In the quiet hours before dawn, a restless determination drove Gabriel to a long-forgotten conservatory at the far end of the estate, a glass-walled structure now shrouded in vines and the melancholy of decay. This hidden annex, once a sunlit haven for botanical studies and leisurely afternoons, had transformed over time into an enigmatic enclave where nature and science converged in secret. As Gabriel pushed open the creaking door, the cool mist of early morning met him, carrying the scent of damp earth and wild growth. The conservatory's fractured glass panels allowed soft shafts of light to pierce the gloom, revealing scattered remnants of horticultural equipment, delicate botanical sketches, and, intriguingly, glass vials filled with faded, murky liquids whose origins whispered of clandestine experiments. Gabriel's eyes scanned the room with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. On a dust-covered table lay a tattered journal, its pages filled with meticulous notes and diagrams that detailed experiments blending botany with early biochemical research. The entries, penned in an elegant yet hurried hand, chronicled a series of trials aimed at harnessing rare plant extracts to create compounds with extraordinary properties. Each experiment was described with precision, the type of plant, the method of extraction, even the ambient conditions that might affect the outcome. One recurring formula, tagged repeatedly with the cryptic term, the seventh measure, seemed to promise an elixir that could stimulate cellular regeneration. The idea that such a discovery might have been hidden away in this forgotten conservatory sent a shiver down his spine. The journal hinted that these botanical experiments were not mere academic exercises, they were interwoven with a far more ambitious plan. The conservatory had once served as the research ground for a covert group of scholars and visionaries who believed that nature held the keys to transcending the limitations of human biology. Their writings spoke of fusing ancient herbal wisdom with radical scientific principles, a synthesis that could potentially unlock dormant human capacities. Yet, as Gabriel read further, he encountered cautionary notes that underscored the inherent dangers of tampering with nature's delicate balance. The scientists, it appeared, had soon realized that their path was fraught with unforeseen perils, both moral and physical. The journal's final, desperate entries hinted at internal strife and an inevitable shutdown, as conflicting ideologies and the weight of ethical dilemmas tore the once united group apart. Lost in a labyrinth of words and half-remembered formulas, Gabriel felt an unexpected resonance with the conservatory's faded legacy. Each carefully inscribed note seemed to mirror his own struggle, a desire to rebuild from the ruins while grappling with the moral complexities of resurrecting lost knowledge. As he carefully tucked the journal into his satchel, he resolved that this new discovery was a vital piece of the broader puzzle. The conservatory, with its vestiges of scientific fervor and botanical mystique, was not merely an ancillary chamber of the estate, it was a pivotal link in the chain of events that had led to the birth of the seventh measure. Stepping away from the table, Gabriel's attention was drawn to a peculiar arrangement near one of the weathered greenhouse corners. A set of metallic instruments, long abandoned and overtaken by rust, lay neatly organized as if recently used. Among them, a small apparatus with a glass container and a series of intricate tubing hinted at its purpose, a rudimentary distillation unit likely employed in the extraction of potent plant essences. The design was unlike anything he had seen before, suggesting a blend of traditional craftsmanship with avant-garde scientific innovation. Every detail, from the engraved symbols on the metal casing to the faded labels on the vials, contributed to a narrative of ambition, secrecy, and the relentless pursuit of progress at any cost. Gabriel recalled the earlier discovery in the underground chamber, where scientific experiments merged with arcane symbols and moral warnings. The conservatory's contents reinforced the notion that the estate was a multifaceted repository of forbidden knowledge, a place where separate streams of research, both chemical and botanical, converged into a singular, enigmatic legacy. The overlapping themes of human ambition, the quest for immortality, and the price of defying nature's laws resonated deeply within him. It was as if the estate itself had been a crucible for ideas that transcended their time, only to be stifled by the weight of ethical compromise and internal betrayal. As the morning light grew stronger, Gabriel found a quiet nook in one corner of the conservatory where nature had woven a thick tapestry of ivy and wildflowers. There, seated on a broken stone bench, he allowed himself a moment of introspection. The cool morning air filled his lungs, and the distant sound of water dripping from the old roof provided a steady, hypnotic rhythm. In that reflective silence, he pondered the manifold revelations of the past few hours. The estate, once a symbol of his financial ruin, had now unfolded before him as an intricate mosaic of human endeavor, an intergenerational narrative that connected lost fortunes, radical science, and secret societies with the very essence of life itself. The journal's entries, the mysterious instruments, and the botanical sketches all pointed to a unified vision, a vision that held the promise of transcending human frailty and redefining the boundaries of possibility. Yet, with this promise came the lurking shadow of danger. Gabriel knew that the same bold ideas that could lead to rejuvenation also bore the potential for catastrophic consequences. The cautionary notes in the journal were not mere footnotes in a scientist's diary, they were urgent pleas from a past generation, warning of the unforeseen repercussions of their experimental pursuits. Resolved to move forward, Gabriel gathered the scattered tools and journal entries, careful to preserve every fragment of the conservatory's legacy. He understood that every element of the estate, from the grand library to the secret basement, from the intricate iron door to the hidden conservatory, was part of a grand, interlocking puzzle. Each discovery raised new questions. How did these disparate experiments converge into a singular, dangerous vision? What role had his own family played in this labyrinth of ambition and mystery? And, most pressingly, could the legacy of the seventh measure be safely harnessed to create a future that honored the past without repeating its fatal mistakes? With these questions echoing in his mind, Gabriel stepped out of the conservatory into the brightening day. The estate's grounds lay before him like a vast canvas awaiting the brushstrokes of his next discovery. The mansion itself, with its weathered stone and silent corridors, now seemed less like a relic of ruin and more like a living testament to the interplay of light and shadow, of hope and despair. Each building, each hidden chamber, whispered of secrets yet to be unraveled, a promise that the journey was far from over. In that moment of renewal, Gabriel resolved to delve even deeper into the estate's hidden archives. He would revisit the network of underground passages, return to the private study, and scour every document for clues about the elusive experiments and the secret society that had once orchestrated them. His mind was now a tapestry of intertwined narratives, each thread a potential key to unlocking the legacy that had shaped the lives of those who had come before him. The quest for the seventh measure had evolved into a personal odyssey, one that would test his resolve, challenge his moral compass, and ultimately redefine his destiny. Thus, with the conservatory's secrets safely absorbed into his expanding collection of clues, Gabriel Monroe stepped forward into the estate's sprawling grounds. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the overgrown courtyard, marking the beginning of a new chapter in his quest, a chapter that promised to illuminate not only the hidden history of the manor but also the uncharted territories of his own heritage and potential. The legacy of the estate beckoned him onward, and with each determined step, he moved closer to a future where the past's mysteries could finally be brought into the light. The early afternoon found Gabriel Monroe pacing the estate's neglected garden, where nature had claimed dominion over once manicured lawns and intricate hedges. Amid the tangled growth of ivy and wildflowers, he discovered an unexpected relic, a small, weathered stone bench engraved with initials that he could not immediately decipher. The bench, though inconspicuous, seemed to beckon him to sit and reflect on the labyrinth of secrets he was slowly unraveling. As he settled onto its cool surface, his mind replayed the events of the past days, the hidden conservatory, the underground chamber, the private study, and the mysterious references to the seventh measure. Each fragment of evidence had intertwined to form an enigmatic tapestry, one that hinted at a legacy of ambition, innovation, and a shadowed history of scientific daring. Gabriel's thoughts were interrupted by the distant murmur of a conversation. Across the overgrown courtyard, near a crumbling stone wall, he noticed the silhouette of a figure moving with deliberate caution. Intrigued, he followed the sound until he reached an old caretaker's cottage that appeared half swallowed by the estate's rampant foliage. The building, though modest and dilapidated, exuded an air of steadfast resilience. Its door was ajar, and through the gap, Gabriel could glimpse a dim interior lit by the soft glow of a kerosene lamp. Inside, the cottage was a repository of memories, faded photographs, handwritten letters, and a collection of personal artifacts that spoke of decades past. There, he encountered an elderly man whose eyes, though clouded by the passage of time, held a spark of keen perception. The man, dressed in a threadbare shirt and worn trousers, appeared almost as a living embodiment of the estate's forgotten history. Though silent at first, his gaze soon met Gabriel's with a mixture of curiosity and quiet understanding. In the subtle language of nods and gestures, the caretaker signaled for Gabriel to sit, as if inviting him to share in a long-kept secret. Without uttering a word, the old man reached for a battered leather journal resting on a low wooden table. The journal's cover bore an embossed emblem similar to those Gabriel had seen throughout the manor, an insignia that suggested connections to the clandestine society that had once thrived in these very halls. With deliberate care, the caretaker flipped through pages filled with neat, flowing script and faded ink sketches of chemical apparatuses and botanical diagrams. In those fragile pages lay the personal account of someone who had once been privy to the inner workings of the experiments and philosophies that had shaped the estate's hidden legacy. Though the language was archaic and steeped in the rhetoric of a bygone era, the caretaker's silent narrative was clear. He had been one of the few remaining witnesses to the events that had transpired on the estate, a guardian of its secrets even as the world outside had forgotten its importance. The journal recounted meetings held in secret rooms, impassioned debates about the moral implications of tampering with nature, and the eventual fracturing of a once united group of visionary scientists and herbalists. It was evident that the experiments were not merely academic pursuits but were driven by a desire to transcend mortal limitations, a desire that ultimately had been tempered by dire warnings and the heavy price of hubris. Moved by the caretaker's unspoken trust and the gravity of the journal's contents, Gabriel listened intently, absorbing every nuance of the silent narrative conveyed by the man's measured expressions and subtle gestures. Though words were scarce, the atmosphere in the cottage spoke volumes. Here was a living link to the estate's past, a man whose memories were a bridge between the opulent yet secretive history of the seventh measure and the present day. As the caretaker slowly closed the journal, his eyes lingered on Gabriel with an intensity that suggested he was passing on a duty, a responsibility to honor the legacy of those who had dared to seek knowledge beyond conventional boundaries. After a long, contemplative silence, Gabriel left the cottage, his mind alight with renewed purpose. The encounter had deepened his resolve to uncover every facet of the estate's mysterious history. The caretaker's journal, now firmly in his possession, was a priceless artifact, a key to understanding the internal strife and noble aspirations that had once animated the clandestine circle. As he made his way back through the estate's labyrinthine corridors, Gabriel felt the weight of centuries upon his shoulders, yet also a stirring hope that the truths he was unearthing might offer redemption not only for the estate but for himself as well. Back in the quiet sanctuary of the manor's neglected library, Gabriel began a careful cross-referencing of the caretaker's journal with the documents he had previously collected. The intricate symbols, the recurring references to the seventh measure, and the tantalizing hints of experimental breakthroughs all seemed to coalesce into a single, coherent narrative, a narrative that linked scientific ambition with spiritual transcendence. He noted with growing interest that many of the entries in the journal mentioned a particular location within the estate, a secluded annex in the east wing, long abandoned and hidden behind a locked door that was rumored to have been sealed off after the society's dissolution. Intrigued by this potential nexus of the estate's secrets, Gabriel resolved to investigate the east wing at first light. That night, under the muted glow of his desk lamp, he meticulously planned his route through the manor, piecing together the fragmented clues from the journal, the scientific treatises, and the architectural hints that adorned the estate. His mind was a whirlwind of possibilities, each fragment of evidence acting as a beacon, guiding him toward a revelation that promised to redefine everything he thought he knew about his family, the estate, and the forbidden legacy that had been entrusted to his care. In the stillness of that late hour, as the manor's ancient walls whispered the secrets of generations past, Gabriel Monroe made a silent vow. He would not allow fear or uncertainty to derail his quest, rather, he would embrace the labyrinthine path laid before him, with all its twists, hidden chambers, and moral quandaries. Every step was a step toward reclaiming not only the lost fortune of his past but also a deeper, more profound understanding of the intricate tapestry of ambition, sacrifice, and unyielding hope that had defined the estate's history. Thus, as the first hints of dawn began to soften the darkness outside, Gabriel prepared to journey to the enigmatic East Wing, a final frontier in a quest that had grown far beyond the mere salvage of a dilapidated property. It was now a mission of historical restitution, personal redemption, and the relentless pursuit of a truth that had been obscured by time, secrecy, and the indomitable forces of nature itself. With the caretaker's journal clutched tightly and his mind attuned to the echoes of the past, he stepped forward into the murmur of a new day, ready to unlock the next chapter in the estate's extraordinary legacy. As the first glimmers of dawn melted into a cool morning haze, Gabriel approached the East Wing with a steady resolve. The sealed door loomed before him, a relic of a time when the estate pulsed with clandestine purpose and secret experiments. Overgrown vines clung to its weathered surface, and a faded plaque, almost obscured by layers of dirt and neglect, hinted at a forgotten designation. Gabriel's heart pounded as he knelt to inspect the door, its intricate ironwork bearing cryptic symbols that echoed those he had seen throughout the manor. Every mark seemed to murmur a warning and a promise in equal measure, a silent testament to the dangerous knowledge contained within. Methodically, he searched for a mechanism that might release the door's long-held secret. Recalling the caretaker's journal and the delicate clues hidden in the library, Gabriel's fingers brushed along a series of depressions on the panel. With a cautious push, the mechanism gave a subtle, almost imperceptible click. A low groan emanated from deep within the wall as the heavy door began to yield. Gabriel's breath caught as the door slowly swung inward, revealing a narrow, dimly lit corridor beyond, a passageway that had remained untouched for decades, sealed off from the eyes of the world. The corridor's walls were lined with faded murals and dusty plaques, each chronicling fragments of the estate's hidden history. Gabriel moved forward, his lantern casting trembling light on time-worn inscriptions that spoke of secret alliances, forbidden experiments, and whispered promises of transcendence. Every step echoed softly against the cold stone floor, a measured cadence that underscored the gravity of the secrets waiting to be revealed. In the recesses of the passageway, he found remnants of personal effects, discarded notes, old photographs, and sketches of scientific apparatuses that hinted at a blend of rational inquiry and mystical ambition. Each artifact deepened his understanding of the group that had once labored here, their ambitions interlaced with both hope and trepidation. At the corridor's end, Gabriel discovered a small chamber tucked away behind a heavy arched doorway. The room was scarcely larger than a study, yet its atmosphere was charged with a palpable intensity. Shelves lined one wall, holding fragile volumes and meticulously bound notebooks. In the center, a large desk dominated the space, its surface cluttered with faded maps and delicate instruments that bore the unmistakable mark of careful, clandestine work. A single window, framed in ornate wood and covered in layers of grime, allowed a sliver of natural light to illuminate the room, casting long shadows that danced across the intricate patterns on the floor. Gabriel approached the desk and began to sift through its contents. Amid the scattered documents, he uncovered a leather-bound ledger with embossed lettering that mirrored the insignia from the caretaker's journal. The ledger detailed a series of meetings, dates, names, and cryptic references to the seventh measure were meticulously recorded, as though each entry was a piece of a larger, forbidden puzzle. The pages also contained elaborate diagrams of experimental apparatuses, each annotated with notes that revealed both technical precision and a profound, almost reverential, belief in the possibility of transcending human limitations. The careful, deliberate script spoke of a generation that had dared to challenge the very boundaries of science and morality. As Gabriel read, he felt an intimate connection to these voices of the past, a shared passion, an unspoken understanding of the risks and rewards of such audacious pursuits. The ledger revealed that the East Wing chamber had been the epicenter of the group's research, a place where theories were not merely discussed but actively tested through painstaking experiments. Detailed accounts described the synthesis of rare compounds, the integration of botanical extracts with emerging chemical techniques, and even the early trials of what they referred to as the elixir of rebirth. Yet, interwoven with the technical entries were notes of caution, urgent reminders of the delicate balance between ambition and ethical restraint. The ledger was as much a record of scientific endeavor as it was a chronicle of a moral crossroads, one that ultimately led to internal strife and the eventual dissolution of the group. Compelled by the gravity of these revelations, Gabriel carefully collected the ledger and a few other scattered documents, tucking them safely into his satchel. He took a moment to absorb the silence of the chamber, a silence that seemed to hold both the weight of innumerable secrets and the promise of eventual redemption. Outside, the world stirred with the sounds of a new day, yet within the walls of this hidden sanctuary, time appeared suspended, a silent guardian of truths that had been locked away for generations. As he retraced his steps back through the corridor, Gabriel's thoughts raced with possibilities. The East Wing had not only deepened the mystery of the seventh measure, but had also revealed a striking connection between the estate's past and his own lineage. Names and dates recorded in the ledger hinted at familial ties and long-forgotten alliances that had shaped the destiny of the manor. With each discovery, the narrative of the estate grew richer and more intricate, a tapestry of ambition, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge that transcended the conventional bounds of time and morality. Emerging once again into the estate's overgrown courtyard, Gabriel felt the early sunlight warm his face. The fresh light lent a hopeful contrast to the shadowed revelations of the East Wing. The secrets he had unearthed now danced at the periphery of his thoughts, urging him onward toward the next chapter of his quest. In that moment, Gabriel Monroe understood that his journey was no longer solely about uncovering hidden scientific breakthroughs or salvaging a decimated legacy. It was, at its core, a journey of self-discovery, a quest to reconcile the lost fragments of his past with the boundless possibilities of the future. With the ledger and its secrets securely in his possession, Gabriel resolved to delve even deeper into the mysteries of the estate. He would study every document, trace every symbol, and uncover every connection that linked the audacious experiments of the past with the quiet, enduring pulse of his own bloodline. The path ahead promised not only danger and uncertainty but also the potential for profound transformation, a chance to redefine the legacy of the seventh measure and, in doing so, to chart a new course for his own destiny. Thus, with the echo of hidden voices whispering in his ear and the weight of generations propelling him forward, Gabriel stepped away from the East Wing's chamber. The estate stretched out before him as both a labyrinth of secrets and a beacon of hope, a realm where the interplay of light and shadow, of ambition and morality, wove together the threads of a story that was far from finished. Every step he took now was a step into an unknown future, where the promise of redemption and the pursuit of truth intertwined, guiding him ever deeper into the heart of the manor's extraordinary legacy. In the wake of the East Wing's revelations, Gabriel retreated to a quiet alcove near the heart of the manor, where the soft patter of rain against the time-worn glass of a stained window mingled with the steady hum of his thoughts. The ledger and other documents he had salvaged weighed heavily in his satchel, not merely in physical terms, but as carriers of a legacy that spanned generations. Seated at an antique writing desk that had once belonged to one of the estate's founding families, he spread out his findings before him, determined to weave together the scattered threads of a story that now seemed to encompass both scientific audacity and deeply personal history. The rain, gentle and persistent, lent a rhythmic cadence to the otherwise silent room. Each droplet that landed on the windowpane reminded Gabriel of the passage of time, a force that had worn away both the grandeur and the secrets of the manor. Yet within those fragile pages, he sensed a vitality that defied decay. The ledger's detailed records of clandestine meetings, experimental formulas, and cautious admonitions spoke of a group driven by a profound desire to alter the course of human destiny. Their fervor and their failures were inextricably entwined, revealing a bittersweet tapestry of hope, ambition, and the inevitable burden of knowledge. Gabriel carefully reviewed the names and dates scribbled in the ledger, his mind piecing together the lineage of a family whose influence had once reached far beyond the estate's decaying walls. There were references to a charismatic patriarch whose pioneering spirit had rallied a cadre of brilliant, if controversial, minds. There were cryptic notations indicating that certain breakthroughs, particularly the elusive seventh measure, had been celebrated with both triumph and trepidation. Amid the technical minutiae and scientific notations lay personal reflections, entries laced with regret, warnings of hubris, and, most strikingly, hints of a secret alliance with a family whose bloodline appeared to converge with his own. A spark of recognition ignited within Gabriel as he cross-referenced these names with faded photographs and mementos he had encountered during his earlier explorations. It became increasingly clear that his own ancestry was interwoven with the estate's enigmatic history. The realization was both exhilarating and daunting. Each discovery was a step further into a labyrinth of mystery, one where every answer prompted new, deeper questions. Gabriel's pulse quickened as he contemplated the possibility that the destiny he had pursued, driven by the loss of his past fortunes, might actually be a long-foretold reclamation of his family's forgotten legacy. Outside, the storm abated to a soft drizzle, and a tentative light began to break through the clouds. Gabriel rose from the desk, clutching the ledger to his chest, and moved toward a narrow doorway that led to an adjoining solarium. The space, long neglected, was filled with a gentle luminescence that illuminated a series of botanical sketches pinned to the wall, sketches that matched those he had found in the conservatory. They depicted rare plants and exotic herbs that, according to the documents, had once played a crucial role in the estate's radical experiments. In one particularly detailed drawing, a plant with silvered leaves and vibrant, almost iridescent petals was annotated with a series of cryptic symbols. This botanical specimen, labeled as Luminous Veritas, was repeatedly mentioned alongside references to the seventh measure, suggesting that it might have been a key ingredient in the experimental elixir. Moved by this convergence of botanical mystery and personal history, Gabriel gathered his notes and retraced his steps to the conservatory, intent on revisiting the botanical archives with fresh eyes. As he stepped back into that forgotten chamber of glass and vine, the memory of the rain and the warmth of the emerging day coalesced into a singular resolve. The conservatory, once a sanctuary for arcane botanical research, seemed to beckon him further into its depths. There, amidst the overgrown foliage and scattered scientific instruments, he discovered a hidden compartment beneath a dusty workbench, a small, ornate box etched with delicate filigree that mirrored the symbols found on the east wing's door. With trembling anticipation, Gabriel opened the box. Inside lay a collection of pressed botanical specimens, each meticulously preserved and accompanied by handwritten notes in a script that echoed the careful precision of the ledger. Among the specimens was the Luminous Veritas, its petals still retaining a faint, otherworldly glow despite the passage of years. The accompanying note detailed an experimental process designed to extract the plant's essence, a process that promised to unlock regenerative properties and, in the hands of its original creators, had been envisioned as a panacea for human frailty. Yet the note also warned of unintended consequences. The elixir, while potent, could destabilize the very fabric of the human condition if misapplied. As Gabriel cradled the fragile specimen in his hands, the magnitude of his discovery became undeniably clear. Here, in the quiet solitude of the conservatory, was tangible evidence of an ambitious scientific pursuit that had transcended conventional boundaries. The Luminous Veritas was more than just a plant, it was a symbol of a radical hope, a hope to renew, to transform, and to defy the inevitability of decay. The discovery resonated deeply within him, for it paralleled his own journey of rebirth. Once a man on the brink of ruin, he now found himself entrusted with a legacy that spanned both the scientific and the mystical, a legacy that might hold the key not only to healing the estate but also to reconciling the fragmented chapters of his own history. Gabriel returned to his secluded study with the botanical box and the ledger safely stowed among his gathered documents. He resolved to spend the coming hours deciphering the cryptic notes and cross-referencing them with the other relics he had collected. The delicate interplay of botanical science, secret experiments, and familial legacy promised to shed light on the true nature of the seventh measure. And as he began this painstaking process, the manor itself seemed to murmur its approval, its ancient walls reverberating with the quiet hope of secrets finally coming to light. In that reflective solitude, as the morning matured into a day filled with possibility, Gabriel Monroe understood that his quest was far from over. Each discovery was a piece of a vast, interlocking puzzle, a puzzle that intertwined the fate of a forgotten estate with the destiny of a man who had dared to reclaim his heritage. And so, with the weight of history guiding his every move, Gabriel prepared to delve even deeper into the mysteries that lay hidden within the estate's myriad chambers, determined to honor the legacy of those who had come before him and to forge a future where the delicate balance between ambition and responsibility could finally be restored. In the quiet solitude of the manor's study, the weight of accumulated secrets pressed upon Gabriel as he pored over the delicate interplay of botanical notes and cryptic ledger entries. The soft rustle of turning pages and the muted ticking of an ancient clock formed the only soundtrack to his relentless pursuit of truth. Outside, the estate was beginning to stir under the gentle warmth of the afternoon sun, yet within the study, time seemed to suspend itself, offering him a sacred space in which past and future converged. Gabriel's mind raced as he painstakingly cross-referenced the handwritten annotations with the botanical specimens he had salvaged. Every line, every symbol, appeared laden with meaning. The luminous veritas, a plant whose ethereal glow defied the ravages of time, had now taken on a significance beyond its biological properties. It was a living testament to the ingenuity and ambition of the clandestine group that once inhabited the manor. Its essence, as described in the accompanying note, was the keystone in their audacious experiments, a promise of regeneration and transformation that bordered on the miraculous, yet carried warnings of unintended consequences. The ledger revealed that the estate's founders had not acted in isolation. Hidden among the intricate financial records and experimental logs were references to a network of benefactors and collaborators, secret alliances forged in the crucible of innovation. Names appeared repeatedly: a distinguished scientist whose vision had been both celebrated and reviled, a mysterious patron whose influence stretched far beyond the estate, and, curiously, fragments that hinted at familial ties with Gabriel's own lineage. Each name and date added another layer of complexity to the narrative, suggesting that the estate was more than a mere relic of forgotten science, it was a nexus where personal destiny and revolutionary ambition met. As Gabriel traced the lineage of these names, a profound realization began to take shape. His own family history, long shrouded in vague recollections and scattered anecdotes, now emerged as a central thread in this tapestry of secrets. The discovery that his ancestors might have been deeply involved in these radical experiments stirred within him a mix of pride, curiosity, and trepidation. The very notion that his bloodline was intertwined with the pursuit of transcendent science provided him with a sense of purpose that eclipsed the pain of his past financial ruin. It was as if fate had deliberately led him to the estate, to reclaim not only a hidden fortune of knowledge but also the legacy of a lineage that had dared to dream beyond the confines of conventional existence. Determined to unravel these familial mysteries, Gabriel resolved to delve deeper into the estate's archival records. He gathered the ledger, botanical journal, and several other fragile documents into a protective bundle, setting them carefully on a large oak table that dominated the study. With a steady hand, he began to annotate and connect the disparate clues, a recurring symbol that matched the insignia on the caretaker's journal, references to a series of secret meetings held in a now-ruined annex, and coded messages that hinted at further experiments, ones that had been halted abruptly, as if by a sudden, unforeseen calamity. A particular passage caught his eye, a cryptic entry detailing a final assembly of the group. According to the faded script, the assembly had convened on a night of rare celestial alignment, when the energies of the earth and sky were believed to converge in a moment of extraordinary possibility. The entry spoke of the convergence as a time when the essence of luminous veritas would be extracted and combined with an elusive compound, creating what was promised to be a transformative elixir. Yet, the text also contained a grim warning, that tampering with such potent forces could unleash chaos if the balance of nature was disturbed. Gabriel's thoughts swirled with both excitement and caution. The idea of an elixir capable of defying decay and perhaps even extending life was as seductive as it was dangerous. He recalled the careful admonitions scattered throughout the documents, a persistent refrain urging restraint and respect for the natural order. In a silent conversation with the voices of the past, he understood that the legacy of the seventh measure was a double-edged sword, a beacon of hope on one hand, and a harbinger of potential catastrophe on the other. As the day advanced, Gabriel decided to step outside the confines of the study to allow his thoughts a moment of clarity amidst the natural world. He wandered through the estate's neglected gardens, where nature had gradually reclaimed its territory with wild, unbridled beauty. The air was filled with the mingled scents of damp earth, blooming wildflowers, and a hint of something exotic that he could not immediately place. The garden itself seemed to pulse with an ancient rhythm, a living memory of the estate's storied past. In a secluded corner of the garden, Gabriel discovered a small stone pedestal, partially obscured by creeping vines and moss. Atop the pedestal rested a weathered brass plate inscribed with a dedication. The faded letters spoke of honor, sacrifice, and the eternal quest for knowledge, a fitting tribute to the visionary minds who had once labored in secret. Standing there, Gabriel felt the profound weight of history and the unyielding passage of time. Every crack in the stone, every ripple in the nearby fountain, echoed with the voices of those who had come before him, urging him to continue his quest, to honor their memories by ensuring that their revolutionary ideas were not lost to oblivion. The garden offered Gabriel a moment of solace and reflection. It was here that he allowed himself to dream, not just of unraveling the technical mysteries of the elixir or reclaiming a hidden heritage, but of a future where the synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science could usher in a new era of understanding. He imagined a world where the lessons of the past, with all their triumphs and tragedies, could be harnessed to heal both body and spirit. In that quiet reverie, the dual nature of the seventh measure transformed from a foreboding specter into a beacon of possibility, a challenge to be met with both humility and audacity. Reinvigorated by the natural beauty and the silent encouragement of the estate itself, Gabriel returned to the study with renewed determination. He set about organizing his notes, planning the next phase of his investigation with the precision of a seasoned scholar. There were more mysteries to unravel, additional chambers to explore, further documents to decode, and, most tantalizingly, the possibility of a hidden laboratory where the final experiments might have been conducted. The evidence hinted at a location deep within the manor's substructure, a place where the culmination of the group's work was believed to be concealed, perhaps still intact and waiting to reveal its secrets. With the twilight drawing near and the estate bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun, Gabriel Monroe resolved that his quest was reaching a critical juncture. Every step he had taken, from the discovery of the underground corridor to the revelations in the conservatory, from the caretaker's silent legacy to the intimate details of his family's involvement, had led him inexorably to this moment. The convergence of past ambitions and present purpose was now within his grasp. As he locked the study and stepped out into the cool embrace of evening, Gabriel cast one last, determined glance at the manor's imposing silhouette against the darkening sky. The journey ahead promised not only peril and profound mystery but also the potential to redefine the very essence of human aspiration. With the legacy of the seventh measure whispering in his ear and the unspoken hopes of his ancestors propelling him forward, he took a deep breath and set his sights on the hidden laboratory, a final, secret chamber where the true nature of the elixir might finally be revealed. And so, beneath the quiet stars and the watchful gaze of history, Gabriel advanced toward the next chapter of his extraordinary odyssey, ready to confront the ultimate truths buried within the manor's deepest recesses. Under a moonlit sky and with the manor's ancient silhouette etched against the darkness, Gabriel advanced with a mixture of trepidation and resolute purpose toward the hidden laboratory. His footsteps echoed in the quiet corridors as he retraced his path from the study to a discreet entrance concealed behind a heavy tapestry in a forgotten wing of the manor. The tapestry, depicting a long-lost family crest interwoven with cryptic symbols, served as both a shield and a key, its faded threads hinting at the labyrinthine secrets behind it. Gabriel's heart pounded as he pushed the fabric aside, revealing a narrow doorway carved into the stone wall. Beyond the door lay a steep, winding staircase descending into a realm that seemed untouched by time, a subterranean passage that led into the very bowels of the estate. Clutching the ledger, botanical journal, and his newly organized notes close to his chest, he stepped forward, each footfall echoing in a silent promise of discovery. The staircase, dimly lit by the weak beam of his lantern, spiraled downward into a vast, subterranean chamber that pulsed with a mysterious energy. The walls here were adorned with intricate frescoes and symbols reminiscent of alchemical motifs and ancient rites. In the center of the chamber, a grand archway loomed, framed by crumbling stone and ironwork that still shone faintly in the lantern's glow. It was here, Gabriel deduced, that the clandestine society had carried out their final and most ambitious experiments, an effort to distill the elusive essence of luminous veritas into what they cryptically termed the elixir of rebirth. As Gabriel's eyes adjusted to the gloom, he noticed that the chamber was divided into several sections, each marked by carefully arranged artifacts and devices that evoked both scientific ingenuity and mystical symbolism. In one alcove, a massive apparatus of brass and glass stood silent, its purpose obscured by layers of dust yet unmistakably designed for precise measurement and controlled reactions. Nearby, a series of sealed glass vials rested on a weathered wooden shelf, their contents long darkened by time but still hinting at the vivid colors of a once potent solution. The scent of old chemicals and faint botanical remnants lingered in the cool, subterranean air, evoking memories of experiments that straddled the boundaries of alchemy and modern science. Gabriel stepped closer to a central worktable cluttered with delicate instruments, handwritten schematics, and a conspicuous, sealed container that bore the embossed insignia he had seen throughout the manor. The container, though shrouded in mystery, radiated an aura of importance. It appeared to be the repository of the Society's final synthesis, the culmination of years of covert research. With cautious reverence, he reached out to lift the heavy lid, aware that the secrets enclosed could rewrite the narrative of his family's legacy and the estate's enigmatic past. Inside the container, he discovered a compact, crystalline vial filled with a shimmering, opalescent liquid. The fluid pulsed with a subtle inner light, reminiscent of the luminous veritas specimen he had rescued from the conservatory. Its iridescent glow danced across the surrounding surfaces, casting prismatic reflections that merged science with the surreal. The accompanying notes, penned in a hurried yet elegant hand, described the vial's contents as the final measure, a breakthrough that promised to reverse the ravages of time and imbue the human body with unprecedented regenerative properties. Yet, interwoven with the promise was a dire caution: the elixir, if misused or tampered with, could upset the delicate equilibrium of life and nature, unleashing consequences that none of its creators had foreseen. Gabriel's mind raced as he considered the implications of his discovery. This was the nexus of all he had uncovered, a tangible representation of the elusive dream to harness nature's hidden forces. The vial was more than a scientific curiosity, it was a testament to the boundless ambition and equally profound hubris of those who had dared to challenge the limits of human existence. The ledger and other documents suggested that the experiment had reached a critical point during that fateful assembly on the rare celestial alignment, a convergence that had promised transformative renewal but ultimately led to internal discord and the dissolution of the secret society. Now, standing in the silent laboratory beneath the manor, Gabriel felt an immense responsibility settle upon him. The discovery of the elixir raised profound ethical and personal questions. Should he attempt to recreate or even understand its full potential? Could this breakthrough, if harnessed wisely, offer a new path for healing and regeneration, both for his own fractured lineage and for a world desperately in need of hope? Or was the elixir a Pandora's box, a relic of overreaching ambition best left undisturbed by modern hands? The air in the chamber seemed to vibrate with the collective dreams and warnings of generations past. Faint echoes of whispered debates and urgent admonitions reverberated from the faded inscriptions on the walls. They told a story of visionary minds whose lofty aspirations had collided with the immutable laws of nature, leaving behind both miraculous insights and irrevocable regrets. Gabriel understood that the elixir represented not merely a scientific achievement but a crossroads, a juncture where the allure of transcendence met the sobering reality of its consequences. In that profound moment of contemplation, Gabriel carefully resealed the vial, securing it as a symbol of both promise and peril. He gathered the remaining documents, sketches, and artifacts, intent on preserving every fragment of the clandestine legacy. With deliberate care, he retraced his steps through the descending staircase, emerging back into the cool night air of the manor's ancient grounds. The estate, bathed in the silver glow of the moon and the quiet majesty of the starlit sky, now stood before him as a living chronicle, a place where every hidden corner and forgotten passageway held the echoes of dreams once pursued with fierce determination. As he walked slowly through the dew-kissed courtyard, Gabriel felt the weight of his journey crystallize within him. The discovery of the hidden laboratory and its extraordinary contents had irrevocably altered the course of his quest. It was no longer just a search for lost fortune or forgotten secrets, it had evolved into an odyssey of transformation, a personal journey to reconcile the ambitions of his ancestors with the potential for a future defined by both wisdom and caution. With the vial and the accumulated knowledge safely in his possession, Gabriel resolved that his next steps would be measured with both scientific rigor and deep ethical reflection. The elixir, the legacy of the seventh measure, was a powerful testament to what had been achieved, and what had been risked, in the relentless pursuit of transcending human limitations. And now, as he gazed upon the ancient manor under the vast, indifferent sky, Gabriel Monroe vowed to honor that legacy by forging a path that balanced the quest for renewal with the responsibility of safeguarding nature's delicate equilibrium. Thus, beneath the eternal watch of the stars and the silent guidance of history, Gabriel stepped forward into an uncertain future, one where every revelation carried the promise of redemption and every secret uncovered was a reminder of the fragile interplay between hope, ambition, and the inexorable laws of life. Gabriel stepped back into the manor's main hall with the vial securely stowed in his satchel, his mind a whirl of questions and possibilities. The hidden laboratory's revelations had imbued him with a newfound sense of both urgency and caution, and as he moved through the quiet corridors, the manor itself seemed to pulse with a living memory of its storied past. In the solitude of an unused sitting room, Gabriel settled into a time-worn armchair, the soft glow of a single lamp casting long shadows on the faded wallpaper. With deliberate care, he spread out his recent findings before him, a collection of fragile documents, sketches of botanical specimens, and the ledger that hinted at ancestral connections he could no longer ignore. The crystalline vial, a beacon of light among these relics, lay nestled in a protective case. Its iridescence had not faded with time, and its subtle glow seemed to promise both hope and peril. Gabriel's thoughts turned inward as he reviewed the delicate balance between ambition and consequence documented in the ledgers. Each entry, every cryptic note, had led him inexorably to this singular moment. He recalled the impassioned debates recorded in the caretaker's journal, the warnings of overreaching and the cautionary tales of those who had dared to challenge nature's immutable laws. Now, with the tangible evidence of the seventh measure resting in his hands, he felt both the weight of his ancestors' dreams and the burden of their failures. The quiet of the room was punctuated by the rhythmic ticking of an old clock, each beat marking the passage of time, urging him to decide the next step. Gabriel knew that this was a juncture at which his path could diverge dramatically. The vial could unlock new frontiers in regenerative science, a means to heal not only personal wounds but also the scars left by years of neglect and hardship. Yet, it also carried the promise of chaos if misapplied, a Pandora's box of consequences that had already torn apart the secret society of the past. Rising from the armchair, Gabriel paced slowly to the tall window overlooking the overgrown gardens. Outside, dawn was breaking, a soft, tentative light that seemed to mirror the fragile hope kindling in his heart. In that moment, he made a silent vow to honor the legacy of those who had come before him. He resolved that his next steps would be measured by both scientific inquiry and a deep moral reckoning. The knowledge he had unearthed was too potent to be ignored, yet it demanded a careful, ethical approach. His family's hidden ties to these radical experiments were not just a footnote in a dusty ledger, they were an integral part of his own identity, calling him to restore a balance between innovation and humility. The decision crystallized in his mind as he returned to his makeshift desk, the documents and botanical sketches spread out like pieces of a complex puzzle. He began to draft a meticulous plan, a roadmap for his next moves. First, he would contact a trusted colleague, a former professor of biochemistry who had long advocated for ethical research practices. This expert, known for his blend of scientific rigor and philosophical insight, might help Gabriel understand the full implications of the elixir's properties and the dangers that lay hidden in its shimmering depths. Next, Gabriel resolved to preserve every scrap of evidence he had collected. The documents, the ledger, and even the very architecture of the manor were living testimonies to an era of bold, if misguided, experimentation. He would archive them, digitize the fragile pages, and create a secure repository of knowledge, a safeguard against the loss of these invaluable lessons. In doing so, he hoped to bridge the gap between the past's revolutionary aspirations and a future where such ambition could be harnessed for the greater good. Finally, Gabriel planned to return to the conservatory and the hidden corridors of the estate, seeking further clues to complete the narrative of the seventh measure. He suspected that there were still secrets locked away in the manor's deepest recesses, final pieces of a legacy that, once understood, might offer a way to transform not only his own life but also the lives of countless others who had suffered under the weight of unfulfilled promises. As the first rays of the sun broke over the horizon, casting a golden glow over the ancient walls of the manor, Gabriel felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges and moral dilemmas, but he was ready to face them. The legacy of the estate, with all its triumphs and tragedies, was now inextricably linked to his own destiny. With steadfast determination, he secured the vial and the precious documents in his satchel and stepped out into the new day, ready to begin the next chapter of his odyssey, a chapter defined by the pursuit of truth, the promise of renewal, and the delicate balance between human ambition and the immutable laws of nature.